Welcome to today's video where we're going to be discussing 7 rules from the book The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason. This book is a timeless classic that has helped millions of people achieve financial freedom and success. These rules are simple, yet powerful, and can help anyone achieve financial success if followed consistently. If you're serious about improving your financial situation and want to learn more about these rules, we highly recommend picking up a copy of The Richest Man in Babylon. You can find a link to purchase the book in the pinned comment below. Before we begin, it's important to note that the book The Richest Man in Babylon is a collection of parables set in ancient Babylon. The main character, Arkad, is a wealthy man who shares his secrets to financial success with his friends and fellow citizens. Arkad's wisdom and guidance are the foundation for the 7 rules we'll be discussing today. So, let's take a closer look at these rules and how they can help you become the richest person in your own life. Sit back, relax, and let's dive into these 7 rules and learn how they can transform your financial future. The first rule, start thy purse to fattening. The story of Arkad and his students is a timeless lesson in the value of saving money. As Arkad questioned each of his students about their professions, he made it clear that no matter what line of work they were in, they all had the opportunity to build a fortune. The key was to start by utilizing the source of wealth they already had established. One student, an egg merchant, provided the perfect example of how to start saving. By putting 10 eggs in a basket every morning and taking out only 9 each evening, the basket would eventually overflow. This same principle could be applied to money. For every 10 coins one puts in their purse, take out only 9 for use. This may seem like a small gesture, but it is the first step towards fattening one's purse. Arkad's advice to his students was simple, yet profound. By saving even the smallest amount of money, one's purse will start to fatten. The increasing weight of the purse will bring satisfaction to the soul, and before long, coins will come more easily. It may seem counterintuitive, but by spending less, one may actually end up with more. The choice is ultimately up to the individual. Do they desire the instant gratification of material possessions, or do they want to build a lasting fortune? The coins taken out of the purse may bring temporary pleasure, but the coins left within it will bring substantial belongings, such as lands, herds, merchandise, and income-bringing investments. In today's world, where instant gratification is often prioritized over long-term success, Arkad's teachings are more valuable than ever. By starting to save money, no matter how small the amount may be, one can begin to build a fortune and achieve financial security. The first rule is to start thy purse to fattening, and the rest will follow. The second rule, control thy expenditures. Arkad's students questioned how it was possible to save 1/10 of their earnings when unnecessary expenses left them with lean purses. Arkad explained that what each of us calls our necessary expenses will always grow to equal our incomes unless we protest to the contrary. He went on to say that confusing necessary expenses with desires is a common mistake. All of us have more desires than our earnings can gratify, and we spend our earnings on gratifying these desires as far as they will go. But there are limits to what we can do and enjoy, and we must learn to discern between necessary and unnecessary expenses. Arkad advised his students to study their habits of living and identify expenses that can be reduced or eliminated. He stressed the importance of demanding 100% of appreciated value for each coin spent and budgeting necessary expenses. He encouraged his students to cross out desires that cannot be gratified with 9/10 of their income and to regret them not. One of the students rebelled against the idea of budgeting and protested that it would take much pleasure from his life and make him little more than a packass to carry a burden. Arkad asked him who would determine his budget, and the student replied that he would make it for himself. To this, Arkad replied that a packass would not include jewels, rugs, and heavy bars of gold in his budget, but only hay, grain, and water. The purpose of a budget is to help one's purse to fatten, to enable one to have necessities and worthwhile desires, and to control expenditures for definite and gratifying purposes. In conclusion, the second rule of wealth building is to control thy expenditures. By budgeting necessary expenses and discerning between necessary and unnecessary desires, one can have coins to pay for necessities, enjoyments, and worthwhile desires without spending more than 9/10 of their earnings. The third rule, make thy gold multiply. Arkad explained to his students that while having a fat purse is gratifying, it earns nothing. The gold we retain from our earnings is just the start, and the earnings it will make shall build our fortunes. To put our gold to work, we must invest it wisely. Arkad shared his first investment, which was a loan he made to a man named Agar, a shield maker. Each time he loaned to Agar, he loaned back the rental Agar had paid to him. Therefore, not only did his capital increase, but its earnings likewise increased, and a golden stream of wealth flowed into his purse. Arkad emphasized that a man's wealth is not in the coins he carries in his purse, but in the income he builds, the golden stream that continually flows into his purse and keeps it always bulging. He urged his students to desire an income that continues to come whether they work or travel. Arkad shared how he had begotten a horde of golden slaves, each laboring and earning more gold, and how gold increases rapidly when making reasonable earnings. He gave an example of a farmer who took 10 pieces of silver to a moneylender when his first son was born and asked him to keep it on rental for his son until he became 20 years of age. When the son reached the age of 50, the moneylender paid him 167 pieces of silver, and the investment had multiplied itself almost 17 times. In conclusion, the third rule of wealth building is to make thy gold multiply. We must put each coin to laboring that it may reproduce its kind and help bring us income, a stream of wealth that shall flow constantly into our purse. By investing wisely, we can build our fortunes and achieve financial security. The fourth rule, guard thy treasures from loss. On the fourth rule, Arkad spoke about guarding one's treasures from loss. He warned his students that misfortune loves a shining mark and that gold in a man's purse must be guarded with firmness, else it be lost. He advised them to secure small amounts and learn to protect them before the gods and trust them with larger amounts. He went on to talk about how every owner of gold is tempted by opportunities that seem plausible for making large sums of money. However, before investing in any project, he advised them to ensure that their principal is secure. He warned against being misled by romantic desires to make wealth rapidly and urged them to study carefully before parting with their treasure. Arkad shared his own experience of investing his guarded savings of a year with a brickmaker named Asmer, who was traveling over the far seas to buy rare jewels of the Phoenicians. However, the Phoenicians sold him bits of glass, and his treasure was lost. He advised his students not to be too confident in their wisdom and to consult with experienced people in handling money for profit. He concluded by saying that guarding one's treasures from loss is of great importance if it prevents one's purse from being emptied once it has become well filled. He advised his students to invest only where their principal is safe, where it may be reclaimed if desirable, and where they will not fail to collect a fair rental. He urged them to consult with wise men and secure the advice of those experienced in the profitable handling of gold to protect their treasure from unsafe investments. The fifth rule, make of thy dwelling a profitable investment. Arkad continued to impart his wisdom to his class on how to maintain a healthy and wealthy life. On the fifth rule, he spoke about making one's dwelling a profitable investment. He advised his students that if a man can turn a part of his earnings into a profitable investment without detriment to his well-being, then his treasures will grow faster. He pointed out that many men in Babylon raise their families in unseemly quarters and pay liberal rentals to exacting landlords for rooms where their wives have no spot to raise blooms and their children have no place to play. He emphasized that no man's family can fully enjoy life unless they have a plot of ground where children can play in the clean earth and where the wife can raise good rich herbs to feed her family. Arkad recommended that every man should own the roof that shelters him and his family. He pointed out that it is not beyond the ability of any well-intentioned man to own his home, especially since the great king has extended the walls of Babylon, and much land is now unused and can be purchased at reasonable sums. He advised his students that moneylenders gladly consider the desires of men who seek homes and land for their families. He urged them to borrow to pay the brickmaker and the builder for such commendable purposes if they can show a reasonable portion of the necessary sum which they themselves have provided for the purpose. He explained that when the house is built, they can pay the moneylender with the same regularity as they did pay the landlord. Each payment will reduce their indebtedness to the moneylender, and a few years will satisfy his loan. Then they will own in their own right a valuable property, and their only cost will be the king's taxes. Arkad concluded that owning one's own home brings many blessings to the man who does so. It reduces his cost of living, making available more of his earnings for pleasures and the gratification of his desires. This, then, is the fifth cure for a lean purse: own thy own home. The sixth rule, ensure a future income. Arkad continued his lessons on the sixth rule. He spoke about ensuring a future income. He advised his students that every man should make preparation for a suitable income in the days to come, when he is no longer young, and to make preparations for his family should he be no longer with them to comfort and support them. He explained that the man who acquires a growing surplus should give thought to those future days and plan certain investments or provisions that may endure safely for many years yet will be available when the time arrives, which he has so wisely anticipated. Arkad presented diverse ways by which a man may provide with safety for his future. He pointed out that a man may buy houses or lands for this purpose, and if wisely chosen as to their usefulness and value in the future, they are permanent in their value, and their earnings or their sale will provide wealth for his purpose. He also suggested that a man may loan a small sum to the moneylender and increase it at regular periods. The rental which the moneylender adds to this will largely add to its increase. He cited an example of a sandal maker named Anson who had deposited 2 pieces of silver each week with his moneylender for 8 years. The total of his small deposits with their rental at the customary rate of 1/4 their value for each 4 years had become 1,040 pieces of silver. Arkad encouraged him further by demonstrating that in 12 years more, if he would keep his regular deposits of but 2 pieces of silver each week, the moneylender would owe him 4,000 pieces of silver, a worthy competence for the rest of his life. Arkad urged his students that no man can afford not to ensure a treasure for his old age and the protection of his family, no matter how prosperous his business and his investments may be. He concluded by saying that he believes that someday wise-thinking men will devise a plan to ensure against death whereby many men pay in but a trifling sum regularly, the aggregate making a handsome sum for the family of each member who passes to the beyond. He saw this as something desirable and which he could highly recommend, but today it is not possible because it must reach beyond the life of any man or any partnership to operate. Therefore, he recommended that all men, by wise and well-thought-out methods, provide against a lean purse in their mature years. This, then, is the 6th cure for a lean purse: provide in advance for the needs of thy growing age and the protection of thy family. The 7th and final rule: increase thy ability to earn. Arkad is addressing his class about the 7th and final rule to become wealthy: increase thy ability to earn. He shares a story of a young man who approached him seeking a loan, but when questioned, revealed that his earnings were insufficient to repay the loan. Arkad explains that the young man needed to increase his earning capacity and asks him what he did to achieve that. The young man replied that he had asked his master 6 times within 2 moons to increase his pay, but without success. Arkad commends the young man's desire to earn more, but explains that he needs to have strong and definite desires, not just general ones. He advises that desires must be simple and not too confusing, and recommends that a man must perfect himself in his calling to increase his ability to earn. Arkad shares his own experience of becoming a successful scribe by having more interest, concentration, and persistence in his work, which rewarded him with increased skill and recognition. He urges his students to always seek greater skill and not to stand still, as the affairs of man are constantly changing and improving. He advises them to pay their debts promptly, take care of their families, make a will, have compassion, and do deeds of thoughtfulness to those dear to them. By doing so, they will cultivate their own powers, become wiser and more skillful, and respect themselves, thereby acquiring the confidence to achieve their carefully considered desires. That's it for today's video on the 7 rules from The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason. We hope you found these rules helpful and informative. Remember, if you want to learn more about these rules and how to apply them to your own life, be sure to pick up a copy of the book using the link in the pinned comment below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more great content.